Let's say we're maybe 15 miles from the Ohio River. We're at an elevation of about 850 feet. We have about 8 acres, and this is glacial till plain. So we have heavy clay soil. This property really is a little unusual in that it has much more variation in the topography than typically around us, which is just flat farmland. Which is nice in that this general area where we're standing used to be a cow pasture many years ago, and so the open area that you see is former cow pasture, but because of the ravines and the ridges and everything, the woods were left, and so we're blessed with this kind of wonderful maybe 5+ acres of woods that are part of our total of 8 acres.
That's great. So today is mid-May 2015, and we're going to be putting in some seeds here. That's a combination of our traditional harvest, Torreya Guardians harvest, plus some seeds from the mother tree in Clinton, North Carolina. So we're going to get a mixture of genotypes here. We're going to go to a variety of habitats. We'll start here with a lovely patch of jewelweed and poison ivy.
This hill is, well, it faces roughly north, maybe northwest.
We've got a nice overcast day for filming, but yeah, north-northwest facing, excellent. It won't take too much sun in the summer. During the summer, it'll be relieved in a drought situation. So we got 5 seeds in there.
So you're saying about 1.5 inches down?
Yeah, about 1.5 inches down, and then just press it in.
Alrighty.
This is called free planting. We're not germinating them first in a protected environment. We're not protecting them from squirrels or voles. So in my view, if we can get 2 out of 5 to come up, we'll be really doing well. It may just be 1 that comes up, but we'll get in another group close enough to here that they'll be able to cross-pollinate even if only 1 comes up. Again, this is pretty much experimenting with whether it's possible to be able to really get Torreya taxifolia back north again where it needs to be during this peak interglacial without having to go through a lot of effort in germinating seeds and then planting them out. But this free planting technique, yeah. Bob's going to finish up the free planting here, and then I'll start the video at our next spot. So we were just planting right in there 5 seeds, and now we've gone over a little farther, a little bit more of a closed canopy over this, but you see there's also quite a bit of sunlight that comes in. So Bob, talk to us. What about this tree right in front here? What's this?
So this is a northern red oak that we planted back in the days when I didn't know my trees very well, and I thought we needed a northern red oak on the property, only to find out that we have a lot of them. And we do have some nice dogwoods here. Just to the right of that shingle oak is a good-sized dogwood. Right back here is a pawpaw tree that we planted, and happy to see that it's doing really well. It seems to be happy here. This was a beautiful sassafras that was totally wrecked by a branch falling out of one of these northern red oaks, but it's coming back pretty well.
So Bob's got 1 more to plant in this area here. This is our second area. This one's kind of open, soil not as rich. Total of 8 seeds in this area here.
Soil here. Wow.
Good.
What that's all about.
Well, see, that's really important. I love having the different soil types here.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And look at all this. Look at all this wonderful poison ivy here. Isn't that lovely? Now, when I was in California with the Torreyas, they're the sister species, same genus. They seem to love being around poison ivy. Now, Bob, you wanted to tell us about this tree straight in the center that I've got here.
I'm pretty sure, a pin oak, and which we don't have very many of, and is not all that common just right in this area.
But it was naturally here.
Naturally here.
Yeah.
As was this tree right here, which is an American beech. That's the best example of an American beech that we have on the property. What's really interesting, and we can take a look at it out here, is that some trees have grown tremendously over the past 30 years and others have grown very little, and they can be of the same species only 30 feet apart, and there's a tremendous difference.
That's interesting. Okay, well let's stay in this area here. Let's plant 3 or 4 seeds in there, because in Florida they're definitely around beech trees. So let's give it a try in there. They'll be a little darker.
Even as close as it is to this beech tree, the soil's very moist here.
Good, good, good. So we're going to put in 3 seeds here. You said there's also a Virginia creeper down here in addition to the poison ivy. The experiment here is to plant in a variety of different micro habitats here. So we're going to go into the denser forest now.
And I wanted to look here because I think this is also a one-of-a-kind example. Yeah.
What is this?
This one right here, I'm pretty sure is a Chinkapin Oak, and it would be the only Chinkapin Oak that I know of on our property.
Wow,
Well,
okay.
this one here too, though. So we got 2 of them right next to each other.
Okay, and you tell this by the leaves primarily,
right.
not the bark.
So you can kind of see those right there. I mean, it's a very un-oak-like looking leaf.
Yeah, yeah.
With a serrated edge all around
But
it.
not a chestnut oak. I just kind of default to chestnut oak whenever.
Right, yeah. And that I think at least for this area, well, I could be wrong. I mean, because I don't know how to differentiate them that well. It's just when I look at the book, it seems like the Chinkapin is more likely to be found here than the chestnut oak.
Well, and also I think it has a little pointier, where the chestnut oak I'm familiar with is completely round. I mean, it's really obviously a part of the white oak clan.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, let's continue on to some deep, dark forest.
Typical because of all of the oaks that we have here is that look at all the squaw root that's in bloom right now.
Oh, yeah, yeah. In fact, and we got some Mayapples right in front of me here.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so these would have been original on the property when you moved in.
Well, but they were not here, and what I've kind of noticed over the year is as the land comes back, it seems that the native wildflower that we see coming in first is Mayapple.
Really?
Yes, and so this.
Well, you know, yours is the 1 yard. Right back there, I remember about maybe 6-8 years ago, I saw a box turtle traversing your backyard, and they are the primary dispersers of the yellow down-hanging fleshy Mayapple fruit.
Oh,
so,
are they really? Well,
yes.
And we typically, I mean, I remember one year I saw box turtles 8 times in the spring, so we seem to have some pretty good population of box turtles.
Yeah, that's really important. Now, we got a maple right here. Look at this. Right, I'm standing right by maple. This is also very good symbiotic fungi. All the members of the Acer genus, maple, have that, and we're going to soon be getting into the sugar maples that you tapped this spring.
Yes.
We had some local maple syrup from these sugar maple trees this morning on our pancakes. I see there happens to be a little Mayapple fruit exposed right here. It'll grow quite a bit bigger, but our footprints must have knocked that over. And we got some Virginia creeper in here, poison ivy. Really, now that's some kind of an elm coming in right there. Would that be like a slippery elm?
I bet, yes, it should. That's slippery elm. Yep.
Okay.
So that's pretty common around here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. But what's interesting is as we look back into the forest, you can see it gets into the area with very, very strong, deep deciduous leaves, brown, that's not all full of green stuff. So we'll also be planting Torreya in some sites that are pretty much open with just brown under very dense canopy. So let's go.
So we have this drainage swale running through the property, and this is one of the few sycamores that we have. This doesn't show that typical mottled camouflage look at this level of the trunk, but up there you can see it.
Okay, I'll move up there. Sycamore, of course, takes really moist soil. And I'll key in here, see what we've got. Oh, look at this. I'm standing right by a sassafras. It tends to be drier, but yes, I see the camouflage mottle bark up high. Beautiful. Okay. So we know we got good moist soil here. We're going to put in a total of 8 seeds from the mother tree in Clinton, North Carolina, harvested fall 2014. Got 1 seed in there. Going to be moving through here, and I'll just point out a few things here. We decided to plant here because this is also still slightly north facing, and we just came, you see that heavy green area, very dense undergrowth on the forest floor there. So very curious to see how the Torreys do here. Should be same soil types, but on a much more open area. We'll definitely be able to easily see these.
The trees in here primarily are oak and ash, and so the maple trees that we have are all small, and so the succession of maple trees is just starting to come into this oak hickory area, unlike over just up on the other ridge where the maples have pretty much taken over.
Okay, now you still have some ashes here that haven't been killed, but they're on their way out, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So about 3 years ago, the emerald ashborer came in here?
I'm going to 3 to 5. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. So you've been losing quite a few of your ash trees.
And eventually, except for the few that I'm treating, we'll lose all of them.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they are a small component of the total tree inventory that we have.
Great. Okay, so you'll get in the final 8 somewhere where we can see all this nice brown leaves on the ground here, and then we'll go to our next spot. So we just finished planting 8 more at the last site. I think we're up to 24 we planted, and now we're at the main destination I was looking for. This is Bob standing on, what would this be, a north?
This is a north-facing hillside.
North-facing hillside on this very deep ravine that runs through his property here. We're going to plant some on this side, we're going to plant some in the ravine, we'll plant some on the south-facing side. This will be a really good place for testing. Now talk to us about that tree right there in the center.
So this tree right here is a Shagbark Hickory. We have a good-sized northern red oak there. The stub of the trunk over there used to be a gorgeous, large white oak.
Ooh, what happened to it?
Again, blown over in a storm.
Oh my.
And that's the tree where I found Dean, our orphaned raccoon, that its eyes weren't even open yet.
Oh.
At the base of that tree right there.
Now what's interesting also about here is we've got some rather large trees. Let me look straight up. I always like to show the canopy here. So here we have got, let me move out a little into the open here. Pretty dense canopy in here, and you can see how easy it is walking around this part of the forest. We've got some mayapple straight through there. We've got squaw root, saprophyte, feasting on the sap of the oak trees here. Anything else?
Well, we have a small Ohio Buckeye seedling, sapling right here.
Look at that. Okay.
and that this hillside has a lot of wildflowers in the spring. You know, we're pretty well past that season. You can see some cutleaf toothwort down there, a lot of Virginia waterleaf.
Do you get any trilliums in here?
We do not, unfortunately.
Now, is that because the deer ate them all?
I don't know. There were no trilliums when we first moved here, and the only trilliums we have growing on the property are ones that we planted.
Okay, so it probably wasn't the deer then, because the deer were pretty sparse when you first moved in, and
so
then got...
For what?
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to plant some in here. You got something else you want to talk about?
Here's a Virginia waterleaf that's just getting ready to bloom.
Okay, I'm totally unfamiliar with that.
This is gorgeous. So when it starts off, maybe a month or so ago, all you get are these basil leaves that look like they're watermarked.
Oh, yeah.
And then like a month or so later, they start putting up these stalks, and then you're just going to get these gorgeous, fluffy white flowers that are going to bloom shortly.
Wonderful. It's right next to some mayapple here. That's beautiful. Do you have bloodroot in here, or jack in the pulpit? Do you have any of those kinds of things?
Well, again, we do have bloodroot and jack in the pulpit back close to the house, but they're there only because we planted them.
Right.
So,
you know, it could simply be because this was deer pasture or cattle pasture. The things that take a long time to move in haven't moved in yet.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Could be.
The one thing that I'm really disappointed about is for a number of years we had a number of Ohio spiderworts that were natural to this hillside, and I don't know what happened to them, whether the deer got them, but we've not seen any Ohio spiderwort for probably 5 years now.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, we'll put a bunch. Oh, now the sun's coming out a little. Look at what's interesting. That mayapple at this time of day, in the morning, probably about 11 o'clock or so, those mayapples are getting some direct sunlight. All right, let's put in quite a few on this north-facing slope. Then we'll move down into the ravine. We'll put some down in the ravine. I'll help you plant this one. Okay, let's go. Okay, I just put one seed on this north-facing slope by the ravine, straight into the middle of the picture by these mayapples. And I put another one, up towards the middle of the picture there to the left of that little bush, not far from the mayapples, and also a maple tree. Maple tree has the same symbiotic fungi. So up here is the top of the hill, probably not a moraine, just glacial till, and this area was cut by the creek system in here. There's one of those really large oaks down there. Oh, this is the Shagbark Hickory. Well, this is an easy way to remember where this is. Right where I'm standing, uphill of this Shagbark Hickory, there's a little Torreya planted about 8 feet uphill from it. Bob is down there. He just planted six Torreyas on that lower part of this north-facing slope. So let's go down into the ravine itself. Okay, so that's the ravine in there. I just wanted to pause for a moment. Bob planted some seeds, up in this area here, but here's a wonderful grove of white oaks, old white oaks. 3 in the foreground here, and then one straight in the center that was killed by wind, pulled apart.
Yes, yeah. Windstorm.
Windstorm, okay. We're almost to the ravine bottom here, limestone ravine, but right here is where suddenly the air got cool and moist. And so this is why microhabitats are so important. We're going to put the next 10 in, probably on both sides, very close to the creek here, above any flood line, and see how the trees do right in the bottom.
This is an interesting tree here that we're losing. This is an American hornbeam or ironwood. American hornbeam, I think, is typically called musclewood, just because of the way that the exterior of the tree just ripples like muscles.
Right, and then you've got a thing called a hop hornbeam, both of which I know are in Michigan's forests.
But we also have American hop hornbeam here. I could have shown you one
Really?
back over there. For some reason, in the past 20 years, I've been told that we've been losing them in this area, and so we don't have very many on this property. This area, the underlying bedrock, is limestone. 450 million years ago, this was a shallow sea in the southern hemisphere, and what I just think is interesting here is that this is a drainage swale, but over the years it's cut through the soil to the point where we now have the underlying bedrock exposed. But one other interesting thing, and just right over there on the far side, is a glacial erratic, that roundish brown rock.
Yeah.
So that would have been one of something that the glacier left behind when this was glaciated.
Right, right. So this is heavily limestone. Ordovician brachiopods is what you specialize in here, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, just fabulous. Okay, so we're gonna plant. Since this is cut down to bedrock, we don't have to worry about it eroding really much anymore in our lifetimes. I sure wish we could figure out, and I'll just get it on the picture here, this tree. Look at the bark on that thing.
Well, let's take a look, see if I can see the leaves.
We'd need binoculars to be able to see the leaves on this thing.
I think, based upon the fact that the top is mostly dead, I think that's a really mature ash tree.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Now I've got, looks like sugar maple right over above me, and again, symbiotic fungi here that Torreya loves, so good place to plant. Let's get started. We got 10. We're going to be putting in these somewhere down right in this bottom of the ravine.
Well, maybe let's go up this way.
Yeah, let's go up the ways. We'll be planting up there. Okay, and this was an old red oak that fell over. First place we planted the first two will be going upstream here. Bob's standing there. He just planted one near this possibly adult ash, whatever it is. It's very tall and it's dying. The one with the very distinct, very large, distinct bark we looked at. And I just planted one over here. Technically, this is the south-facing slope.
See, hey Connie.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's definitely an icy, because here's another one here, and the top canopy is totally dead, and it shows exactly the same.
Oh, okay. So we've got a definite on that crocodile-like bark, when the ash gets old enough, it turns into that. So that's what that is. It will be gone in future years, obviously. But I also put in one little Torreya here on the south-facing side, but it's, again, very close to the creek here. And what I was very pleased with was how moist and just easy to dig into this soil is here. And so here's hoping that they do well. Bob's up there on a kind of a little peninsula island between, there's a smaller creek that comes into the left there. We're going to keep following the major creek here. Here's the slope. The house is up there somewhere, and over in there is where we planted, what was that, 8 that we planted in there. And back down here, downstream from here is where we planted the first 2 seeds in the ravine itself. So a total of 3 seeds are going to go there. Got a little Ohio Buckeye there, just to the left of the creek that's on the far right, going up. Let's take a look at the canopy that we have. Quite nice shade here, shade us from the droughts and the heat of the summer. Again, very cool and moist through here. Here's the ravine. Very large red oak right there, and also right straight there in the middle of the picture. What do you have there, Bob?
This is a maple, sugar maple.
A sugar maple!
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, good mycorrhizal fungi for the Torreys.
And this one is an Ohio Buckeye.
Okay, let me move up here. See that? Okay, Ohio Buckeye. Is that going to ever be able to reach the canopy, or is that sub-canopy?
Sub-canopy.
Okay, good. I like to have sub-canopy around the Torreys. All right, did you get all 3 in?
I did.
Okay, let's continue. I just put 8 in on this north-facing side of the ravine, right in the center of the picture. It's a very steep slope here. There's a living root, probably of the maple, maybe the oak. In here, I put it just above there for stability. But you can see down here is the creek. There's some basement rock of some limestone. So we're getting into the basement here, downstream. You see the thicket. We had 2 on the other side of there. But taking a look around, I just put 8 on this north-facing slope of the little creek. And it's all starting from, this is the last one right where I'm standing, and here's the great red oak that marks the spot. And then on this side of the creek, as low down as I could get above where the ground is going to deteriorate, I put 8 in there. About where Bob is standing is where I put in the first one. So 8 along here. We'll now, I just wanted to mention, this is a really cute little Ohio Buckeye right here. But now we're going to go upstream and we'll talk to Bob. He was putting in, I think I gave him 7 for the south-facing island side of the ravine. So let's go see Bob. So we're standing upstream of where I planted, and Bob planted on this other side here, but show us from where to where. What would be the markers for finding where to look as to whether these actually germinate?
So I didn't come too much past these 2 trees right here, and then upstream from there, tending to be down as low as I thought I could get without kind of getting into what you might call the floodplain. And there's a nice big patch of jewelweed up there, moist soil, so I planted several in that area. And then going up maybe 30-40 yards.
Okay, good. So we've got 6 or 7 seeds, something like that, from up there a little ways, always on that far side, which would be south-facing side. In fact, it's good to see. We're about noon here, and as I look up, you can see the sun has come out, and it's over to my right. So high summer, or very close to getting to the summer solstice coming in. And so that's technically on the south-facing side, but still very deep in the ravine, so getting the cool moist. And mine would have started, just beyond all this tangle here, kind of by the big red oak there, going to the far big oak there, planting 8, fairly close to the stream, but where there were other trees already growing. So, we've had a wonderful day planting somewhere, I think I counted about 56 seeds. Any parting words for how people can try to understand your forest, for understanding the history of this place and where these Torreys might be growing?
Not that I can really think of. That I guess the only thing to point out is, I'm sure they would have noticed, is that we definitely have some issues with bush honeysuckle, and that I'm going to be trying to work on that more and more. Fortunately, this side is not that covered, and so I think I can make some real progress there. This area up in here is going to be much more of a challenge. And
right.
So that if the bush honeysuckle takes over in the areas where these are growing, it'll be interesting to see whether they make it through or not.
Right.
My understanding is that bush honeysuckle puts out a chemical that inhibits growth of other plants, and so that could possibly have a very deleterious effect.
Interesting. And as we were coming across this slope, I saw clusters of where he'd been hanging to dry the garlic mustard pulling out along the slope there. So a lot of activity here, trying to work with the forest against the invasives, but you know, at some point you just have to decide that there's certain things you can't fully contain. All right.
And I guess the one last maybe significant tree is just up the hillside right here. That's probably the largest maple tree on the property.
That huge thing is a maple?
It is, and unfortunately it broke off. Well, it had three large branches above the main trunk, and they kind of broke off one at a time over the past 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, so this is a forest in flux, healthy, wonderful forest in flux, really thoroughly recovered from a period of cattle grazing here. So signing off, this is Connie Barlow and Bob Miller, mid-May 2015, and for any of you working on Torreya in the future decades, may the forest be with you. In Bob Miller's library, I found this wonderful book by the famous Lucy Braun, The Woody Plants of Ohio, Trees, Shrubs, and Woody Climbers, Native, Naturalized, and Escaped, by Lucy Braun. Contribution toward the vascular flora of Ohio. I certainly knew of Lucy Braun. This was first published in 1961. But I had no idea that southern Ohio, Cincinnati, was where she lived and taught and her native range. So it was really exciting to encounter this book in Bob Miller's library. And on page 58, where the systematic genus by genus starts, take a look at what's there. The systematic text starts with the gymnosperms. First family talked about is Taxaceae, the yew family, and it begins a family of 3 genera, only one of which is represented in Ohio. Another, Torreya, includes the rare Florida endemic, Torreya taxifolia. So here we are, southern Ohio. Wouldn't it have been interesting for Lucy Braun to understand paleoecology in that Torreya taxifolia actually belonged in her home state at this age of an interglacial?